What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come into the channel. Check out the content. And I wanna discuss a recent episode of the Jason Whitlock show where Jason Whitlock was discussing was Chris Paul ever considered an elite guard, right? And I made videos about this before, well, not too long ago, where Chris Paul is not an elite guard. Like I said that, like on defense, he plays only one side of the ball because on defense he's a liability. He is somebody who is like he's not a quick guy. He's not somebody who is going to stand it, who's going to be able to change directions or just play defense, tough defense. He's not a good defender at all. But the media and Patrick Beverly is going to say this also too in this interview. And Jason Whitlock, that him and the guy, what do you call the Korean Cosell? I forgot his name, Steve Kim. They're gonna discuss and like the Patrick Beverly is like brutally honest when it comes to Chris Paul. He's just not a defender. He's not an elite point guard. And I compared him to somebody like Drew Holiday. Like in my opinion, Drew Holiday is a better guard than Chris Paul. And I can debate that and argue that with anybody. He's a better point guard than Chris Paul because point guards, it's about leadership. It's about being that bridge from between the coach and your teammates. And Chris Paul, his leadership skills are just trash, basically. So, but let's get to what Patrick Beverly thinks about him, and then Jason Whitlock and Steve Kim are going to react to what Patrick Beverly says about him.
All the petty calls, all the swipe throughs at the end. I mean, this guy is out, man. We gonna be honest. We want to be really honest.
Yes.
He should have fouled out. He should have fouled out. The last game too. You see the replay against Brunson. Hit him on the shoulder. Hit him in the mouth. Ref don't call anything. If that's me, review it. Flagrant one. If that's him, they don't call it. So let's not get it twisted, man. He should have fouled out. He can't guard. He literally can't guard.
He can't guard.
Yeah.
He can't. Chris Paul can't guard anybody? Is that what you say?
Did you see that? No, he can't. Everyone knows that.
Excuse me. No. I don't know that. I haven't heard anybody.
See, and that's Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is just as fake as they come, man. He know that Chris Paul can't guard nobody, and he's going to give an example of why. Which that's just one example. Like Chris Paul, like I said in previous videos, he only 6 feet tall, so he had, he's not blocking nobody's shot. Like even somebody who is his size can elevate, and shoot over him. So he can't guard at all. But let's let Patrick Beverly finish.
Tell me that.
Because you haven't suited up. Guys don't like to tell you all the truth. You know that. Because they scared. They scared what you going to take with it.
No, he's right about that. They will lie.
I don't care.
He's honest. They will lie.
They
That
will
is
lie.
true. He's not lying about
Man,
that.
CP can't guard nobody, man. Everybody in the NBA know
He
that.
can't guard-
Everybody
he can't
know
guard
that.
anybody.
What we call them? Cone. You know what you do with cones? Like when in the summertime, you got a cone. You make a move. What does the cone do?
Stay still.
Exactly. He's a cone. Stop playing, man.
I got
Everybody
that right.
knows that. Everyone knows that. It's just y'all don't want to accept it because
No, I don't accept that. I don't. No. I'm saying again, if you're taller than them,
Like I said, that's Stephen A. Smith. He said he don't accept that. But Stephen A. Smith, you watch the game, you know that Chris Paul cannot guard. I've seen Steph Curry just make this guy look crazy. Not just Steph Curry, but if you're a guard, you would love to have Chris Paul defending you out there because he don't move.
you can shoot over him. Obviously, that's
But
an
give
issue.
him the Ben Simmons slander. Give him the PG 13 slander. Give him the slander that you give everybody. Come on, Steve.
So I loved it. And it was like, wow, Patrick Beverly coming hard. And it's good to finally see someone, and he's a current NBA player. He's in that fraternity still. I thought that was amazing. Matt Barnes, former NBA player, I think he's been out of the league since 2017, 2018, or as Kwame calls him, Becky with the good hair. Matt Barnes had a completely different take. I think we have that. Matt Barnes went on ESPN the next day or later that day and attacked Patrick Beverley.
Chris Paul is obviously going to take a lot of the blame. As Ramona said, and as Chris knows, he didn't play well from games 3 to 7. He played terrible, and he'll tell you that. But what I want to touch on real quick, RJ, is the disrespect I saw from Pat Beverley earlier today. You know, as reporters, you know, part of the media, we have a job to be critical, but I think there's a thin line between being critical and disrespecting. And I feel like what Pat Beverley did today to Chris Paul was completely disrespectful and out of the line. And Pat Beverley's talking like he's that guy. You're not that guy. Plain and simple. Chris Paul played terrible this year, and his numbers are still better than your career numbers have ever been. So I just think you have to understand, Chris is a 12-time All-Star. He played terrible. First time, all defense 9 times, 7 times first team all defense. He'll be a Hall of Famer. Pat Bev and I were similar type role players. They don't talk about us when we go. They're going to talk about CP3 when he's done. And I just think the disrespect we saw earlier today.
All right, so that's Matt Barnes, and in my opinion, like the league, who knows better than your peers, right? And so Matt Beverley didn't say that he could guard. I mean, Matt Barnes didn't say that Chris Paul can definitely guard. He just said he didn't have a good game or good series, whatever game he's talking about in this clip, right? He didn't say, "Oh, that's a lie. He can guard." He didn't dispute that, you know. So
ESPN shows need to be checked because he was way out of pocket.
Yeah, no, he you know that there's energy between those two. Like we've seen the push in the back. We know about all that. And yeah, sometimes when you're in this position, it can be difficult to separate professionalism versus competitiveness.
I mean, all he needed was the red clown nose because he was out there talking like a clown today. And I just think, to me, again, the CP is a legend in this game. You know, again, we were role players in this game. So have some respect for guys. He did play terrible. He'd be the first one to tell you. But the shots that Bev took today were just out of pocket. I know no one else is going to tell him that, so I'm going to tell him that.
Whose team you on here? Who you siding with? Pat Beverley or Matt Barnes?
Well, I'm part of the Bev hive because he was more petty than Richard and Tom combined. But this is the point that I want to make. And I know me and you get this all the time. Have you ever done it? Did you ever play the game? Well, here's the thing. Patrick Beverley played the game. He's been a long-time pro. He's very effective in his role. Now, I agree with Matt Barnes. We are role players, so we kind of know the hierarchy of where our status is. But this is the hypocrisy of the public and even players who always question our credentials or any credentials or the veracity of what media says about players. So you can only criticize if you're at that level. So that literally means by that standard, only Michael Jordan can really make a critique of a player.
See, though, that's a good point made by Steve Kim, right? Like if you never played in the league, or if you're not as good as somebody in the league, then you're not entitled to any opinion. So whatever they tell you about Chris Paul, if they tell you that Chris Paul is an all-star, he's a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer, then that's what you have to run with. But the thing I like about social media is that these different platforms, you have people who have been watching basketball for years, and people who watch and they see Chris Paul and they compare him to different players around the league. Like what he can do on the defense. What is his leadership compared to other players around the league? And he's not Tony Parker. He's not Jason Kidd. I like Mike Bibby better than I like Chris Paul, Drew Holiday. Because those guys are two-way basketball players, number one. He's not John Stockton. These guys play defense. Chris Paul can't play defense. He's limited as a basketball player. He might be great on one end of the floor, but that's it. That's it. The rest of the guys bring more than just scoring or more than just passing the ball. And so Patrick Beverley was just brave enough just to tell, you know what I mean? It's almost like breaking the bro code or and that's what Matt Barnes is talking about. So, I like the way Pat Beverley put it. Like, this guy can't guard, and that's true.
It becomes a game. Well, wait a minute. You're criticizing me. You only made 3 All-Star games. I made 5. Yeah, you made 2 all-defensive teams. Guess what? I made 6. You make $100 million. I make $300 million. If that's the standard we're going to have, that's a tough standard. And I've often pointed this out to boxers, and they hate when I say this. When boxers always say, well, you've never boxed, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about your criticism. Every time you tell them, you're right. So every time someone gives you a compliment, do you ask them, well, what are your qualifications to compliment me? It goes both ways. And I have an idea. See, I like what Beverly is doing because he's staying in brand on character. He's an absolute Doberman. I mean, he's a pit bull. He is a tenacious, kind of mean, yet funny guy. He knows what he's doing. It reminds me of Rowdy Roddy Piper, my all-time favorite wrestling heel. Yes, I watched wrestling as a kid. I want to start a show called The Bev Hive, where he basically interviews a player that he may not like in between the halftime of a game, and he just says anything he wants. And I'd love that first guest to be Chris Pylon. I'd go with Pylon more than Cone, and just have at it and let them battle 5 minutes in between a quarter, because, you know, not the halftime, but in between a quarter, set up a little stage, and it'd be his version of Piper's Pit. To me, that might get me to watch some NBA more again, Jay. I'll be honest with you. That right there.
All right. Do you think it's one thing to come out, guest appearance on Get Up or First Take, you're still in the NBA, but do you think could he be a Charles Barkley type? And again, some people will say no instantly because, like, well, Charles Barkley was the MVP of the league. Charles Barkley was, 13, 14-time All-Star, played in NBA Finals, whatever. Patrick Beverly doesn't have the credentials to be the next Charles Barkley.
But see, it's not about credentials. Like they even going against the point that Steve Kim just made. It's not about your credentials. It's like, can you give your honest opinion about about a player or a situation? Like, what's your honest opinion, whether people agree with it or not? And so just because Charles Barkley, had more accolades than Patrick Beverly, that don't mean that he's going to be more honest than Patrick Beverly. So you could disagree with Patrick Beverly, what he say, that's cool, but he has a right to say it. And so mainstream media, that's why ESPN and some of these like these mainstream media and these platforms, that's why they got so much competition now, because people want to hear the truth, right? They don't want to hear that, if you telling me that this guy Chris Paul is an elite guard, but he don't stack up against Tony Parker, he don't stack up against Jason Kidd. Historically, when you watch Chris Paul and you watch Jason Kidd, if you can't see the difference between those two guys, then you don't really know basketball. If you don't understand like what a point guard job is, then yeah, you can watch ESPN and allow ESPN to tell you that, all right, he's a great guard, and just go with it like that. But if you watch the sport and then ESPN tell you that this guy is an elite guard, he can't play he can't defend against nobody. His leadership skills is just BS. And then all these people coming out the woodwork with stories about how they don't like him and how his leadership skills are BS. That's why ESPN is getting pushed back, and people are they're going to different places for their, to get their sports information or to have like sports conversations. So I was going to play some more of this, but you get the point. Chris Paul is not an elite guard. He's a popular guard. But, if you look at, like I said, all the elite guards throughout history, he don't stack up to those guys, man. He don't stack up. And he's been in the league for 20 years. He's been the beneficiary of having longevity. But other than that, he's not an elite guard. So that's my take on the situation. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.